But viewers, despite the police presence, at 9 p.m. clashes erupt, leading to stone pelting. Public properties damaged as a result of the stone pelting, and those visuals that have been carefully treated, labeled, annotated, so to speak, tell you how the evening progressed. Violent mobs then set public equipment on fire, vehicles on fire. They pelt stones also at the police. All this by about 9:20 p.m. This is when 24 hours ago, viewers, we broke that story to bring to you the pictures from Nagpur. By about 9:30, the police had fired tear gas to disperse the crowd and bring the situation under control. Even now as we speak, Nagpur is tense. Today, the state chief minister, Devendra Fadnavis, issued a statement in the Maharashtra legislature linking the violence to what he believed is a premeditated conspiracy aimed at disrupting peace. These are his words, not mine. Let's listen to him, viewers.
काही ना काही एक प्रकारे काही लोकांचा सुनियोजित पॅटर्न हा देखील त्या ठिकाणी दिसतो आहे. अशा लोकांना त्या ठिकाणी त्यांच्यावर कारवाई ही केलीच जाईल. कुठल्याही परिस्थितीमध्ये कायदा आणि सुव्यवस्था हाती घेण्याची कोणालाही परवानगी या ठिकाणी देण्यात येणार नाही. आणि मी एक गोष्ट स्पष्टपणे सांगतो, पोलिसांवर ज्यांनी हल्ला केला असेल त्यांना काय झालं तरी सोडलं जाणार नाही.
The opposition, viewers, slammed the chief minister, who happens to be a legislator from Nagpur. Several opposition leaders pinned the blame on the BJP for what they said was an attempt at weaponizing Aurangzeb's legacy to consolidate its Hindu voter base. Aditya Thackeray of the UBT Sena, for example, came out and said, and I quote him, "Sadly, when the BJP cannot govern, they resort to violence and riots. If you look at Manipur, that is exactly what they want to convert Maharashtra to. They're trying to dig up the history of someone who lived over 300 years ago, but they cannot speak about the future and the present," unquote. Pawan Khera, the national spokesperson of the Congress party, came out and said, I quote again, viewers, "Riot broke out in the Mahal area of Nagpur, the hometown of Maharashtra Chief Minister Fadnavis. Nagpur is a 300-year-old city. In those 300 years of history, no riot has occurred in Nagpur. We should all ask why such a situation formed. BJP is in power in both the centre and the state. If VHP and Bajrang Dal organized a protest demanding the removal of the tomb of Aurangzeb, did the government make no arrangements to maintain law and order?" Unquote. Mayawati, BSP Supremo, came out and issued another statement saying, and I quote, "It is not right to damage or break anyone's grave or mausoleum in Maharashtra because this is spoiling the mutual brotherhood, peace and harmony there," unquote. But one is entitled to ask, viewers, how can deplatforming Aurangzeb be an affront to brotherhood? Which brother would shed a tear for his brother's nemesis? It could be argued that had, quote, liberal, unquote, politicians been more mindful of Hindu sentiments and not issued statements extolling Aurangzeb, the Nagpur riots wouldn't have happened. Hindu groups hurt by the effrontery, as they call it, wouldn't be out protesting. Several nations, viewers, by consensus enact laws criminalizing the glorification of figures associated with the suppression of indigenous populations. Here are some hard facts. In Germany, Section 130 of the Penal Code criminalized the glorification of Adolf Hitler and Nazi regime. In Austria, the Verbotsgesetz 1947 bans any form of Nazi glorification, including eulogies for Hitler or other Nazi leaders. France criminalizes the denial of crimes against humanity through the Geso Act of 1990. In Spain, the Democratic Memory Law of 2022 criminalizes the glorification of Francisco Franco and his dictatorship that lasted between 1939 and 1975. There are many examples. Uganda judicially ruled in favor of removing British colonial monuments and renaming streets in Kampala. Latvia, in June 2013, Latvia's parliament approved a ban on the display of Nazi and Soviet symbols at public events including flags, anthems, uniforms and the swastika. Lithuania, again viewers, bans the display of Nazi symbols. Additionally, the law on meetings prohibits gatherings involving Nazi and Soviet imagery, aiming to prevent the glorification of oppressive regimes. In Hungary, a similar code exists that criminalizes the use of symbols associated with totalitarian regimes, including swastika, SS insignia, the Red Star, reflecting a broader effort to prevent the glorification of oppressive ideologies. Italy, same, viewers, almost. Down to the last letter. The facts pose several questions. Should there even be a mausoleum, memorial to Aurangzeb in inclusive modern-day India? How does a movement to deplot from Aurangzeb undermine the spirit of brotherhood? Has the time come to criminalize the gratuitous glorification of Aurangzeb? There are several questions, but let's open this up for a frank debate, but hopefully not one that becomes communally charged. And Sanjay Jha, let me begin with you tonight. This is a very sensitive issue, and we shouldn't, of course, jump to apportion guilt. And I'm not doing that. I want to really talk about the larger issue here, the larger principle, if you will. Mr. Jha, are opposition parties that appear to be whitewashing Aurangzeb's legacy, are they doing so to appease a certain vote bank? And should there even be a mausoleum or a memorial, if you like, to Aurangzeb and inclusive modern-day India?
Rahul, I'm very glad that you have presaged this program by saying that this is a sensitive and important discussion. I believe it is. And I would respectfully, therefore, like a very engaging conversation with everyone being given equal amount of time. You mentioned a couple of examples of bigots being celebrated all over the world. We have one classic one in India, actually. Nathuram Godse, the man who murdered Gandhi, had people who were members of parliament. In fact, you had many people from the ruling party that said that he should be celebrated as a patriot. So, all countries have this very peculiar self-destructive habit of celebrating those who in fact possibly destroyed some of the greatest national icons. But let's come down to this conversation in Maharashtra. You live here in Mumbai. I live here in Mumbai as we talk. I'm very proud to be in Maharashtra for several decades now. It makes me feel very sad as a citizen, forget, speaking for the India Alliance here, to see this great state, not just a commercial capital or the entertainment universe of India, but to see this state becoming like a communal tinderbox saddens me. And I mean that in a very genuine way. It appeared very awkward to me that suddenly a Mughal emperor, no matter how vile and venomous and his history is known, fair enough, but how is this emperor resurrected for a political gain by the BJP will go down in the history books over the years to come. It will be known, it's documented. You have a chief minister of a state who makes a very, I would say, forthright statement that the tomb of Aurangzeb must be removed. If you think that was stated only with the sole purpose of trying to appease his very disturbed sentiments, it was not. He's a politician. And we all know what politicians like, and especially if you read the history of riots in this country, it has a standard playbook. It follows an SOP. Create tension, raise the communal temperature, let rumors fly, and then the innocent from both sides become victims to whatever happens. Ajay Alok comes from Bihar. I come from Bihar. We have seen that happen in Bihar as well. Here is the point. There is a leader, Rahul, in fact, you should get your research team to put out his statements, who goes by the name of Mr. Rane. He's a member of the Maharashtra cabinet. Put out his hate speeches. I'm telling you guys, you will shiver to your spine to believe that this guy is part of the Maharashtra government. And obviously the government has done nothing. And the statements are so full of hate and animus that, I don't care which political preference your viewers have, but you will feel sick in your heart as to how much of hate and, kind of internal violence there is in individuals who have begun to treat human beings who are citizens of the same country with such a very malicious and a malignant eye. I want to basically let everyone speak, but one thing that worries me, Rahul, when you talk about this Aurangzeb issue, that the chief minister comes from Nagpur. Nagpur is the headquarters of the RSS. And since we debate very often, law and order is something that the government needs to look and understand long before anybody else does. The fact that these riots have happened, there is a home minister of the state, we know who that is. What were they doing? And my biggest worry is, are these being engineered deliberately? You create a tinderbox, you allow situations to get out of control,
No, fair
and
enough.
then obviously you pulverize one community and make them look like the fifth columnists.
Okay, but
By the way, let me add one point before I end up. I strongly condemn the violence. In case anybody makes an accusation that anybody is endorsing violence, absolutely not. Nobody in their right senses can condone that.
Okay.
But bottom line is, who is triggering this and why?
But I began by asking a couple of questions, and I made those questions rather pointed, saying that should there even be a mausoleum to Aurangzeb in an inclusive modern day India? Now, let me give you an example of what actually happens when you allow certain individuals a free pass. Now, Dr. Ranganathan might remember this, but and I want to bring him in. When Yaqub Memon, who was the Islamist terrorist, when his funeral procession took place, hundreds and thousands of people from a particular community lined up to pay last respects. Now, this was an individual who was condemned to death after being convicted by the Supreme Court for carrying out one of the worst terror attacks on Hindus. I mean, there was no doubt about who his targets were. Unfortunately, Muslims also died, but he was taking revenge for what he claimed was a great desecration of Muslim rights in this country. So, are we just cherry picking? I'm sure we would condemn the number of people who showed up to extol the virtues of a Yaqub Memon. And isn't that, in a sense, disregarding Hindu sentiments? Dr. Ranganathan, where do you stand on what Sanjay Jha has sort of spoken about tonight?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Thank you for this important discussion. I think it's not about what Sanjay has spoken. It's about what you said. It's about double standards, and it's about a weak state ultimately relenting to the power of street veto and the power of unabated hate. For example, when you talk about the tens of thousands of Mumbaikars, Muslims who gathered to pay their last respects to a terrorist Yaqub Memon who perpetrated bombs and violence in their own city, and we did nothing about it. Well, that then went on exponentially, and now people are not only celebrating Indian terrorists. You remember what happened to after Hassan Nasrallah? There were tens of thousands of Indians from Kashmir down to even Tamil Nadu, Kanyakumari, who were celebrating and eulogizing this terrorists from the Middle East. So if you do not stop this, if you don't ebb this, this kind of hatred becomes all pervasive. But I want to come back to this discussion because I want to be clear about one thing. There is no difference between Aurangzeb apologists and Holocaust deniers. Twisted minds in need of immediate medical intervention. In fact, I would say any Muslim who celebrates Aurangzeb has ISIS hide, and any Hindu who celebrates Aurangzeb is ISIS bride. There are three issues here, and all three have cropped up. One, why is Aurangzeb being wrongly branded evil? Two, why rake up historical injustices? Why can't we forget what Aurangzeb did 300 years ago? And three, why provoke or trigger Muslims into rioting? Let's go one by one to all these three because all three are important. Number one, it goes without saying Aurangzeb was Baghdadi 350 years before ISIS. He imposed tax only on non-Muslims, beheaded Guru Tegh Bahadur, entombed Sahibzadas alive, decapitated Sambhaji Maharaj, demolished Kashi Vishwanath and thousands of temples, murdered 4.6 million Hindus. This is all well documented, principally through his authentic biography, Masir-e-Alamgiri. So we know that Aurangzeb was a monster, and to celebrate him is like celebrating Hitler. Now the second important point, why rake up historical injustices? Why can't we forget what Aurangzeb did 300 years ago? Well, Rahul, as I say, nations weaken not because of their past, but rather by how they are taught it. And for 70 years, we've been taught to forget our historical injustices. From Somnath to Kashi Vishwanath, Babarpur to Bakhtiarpur, Allahabad to Aurangabad, Martan to Mathura, these injustices have deliberately been made visible as to lionize the debasement, celebrate the humiliation. And the irony is that the same people who counsel us to forget raking up Aurangzeb and his genocides, who have taught us to forget historical injustices, drilled this self-loathing in us. These same people want others to fight historical injustice around the world. They revel in burning Manusmriti. They want reparations and reservations for the historical injustices committed by the upper caste. They run 1619 slavery awareness campaign. They demand apologies from the nations for historical injustices towards the indigenous people like the Aboriginals. They condemn barbarians of the West either to worship like the Confederacy generals Rhodes, Churchill, Pizarro, Murray, Colston, Leopold. They celebrate their roads and buildings being renamed, their statues being brought down illegally. But here in India, this same set eulogizes barbarians like Tipu, Aurangzeb, Babar, Khilji. Why? I'll tell you why. It is a heady mix of hatred for Hinduism and love for jihadism. Hatred for India and love for its breakup. It is all hate, hate, hate. Otherwise, tell me, is there a Hitler Road in Tel Aviv? Why rake up Hitler and his genocide? Why support punishment for Holocaust deniers? Why throw those who celebrate Nazism in jail? Finally, very briefly on the third point. Why provoke and trigger Muslims into rioting, burning vehicles, pelting stones, attacking cops? Well, here too, Hindus are being blamed for starting it by burning an effigy of Aurangzeb and claiming that a cloth with an embroidered verse was burnt. Well, by that same logic, should Hindus riot every time you burn Manusmriti or Ramcharitmanas? So stop blaming Hindus by saying they provoke the Muslims. The essence of Azan, which is there is no God but Allah and no one has the right to be worshipped but Allah 4062, exemplified through the loudspeaker 5 times a day, whole year round near a temple is not provocative. But celebrating Ram Navami or singing Bhajman Ramcharan Sukhdai one day in a year near a mosque or burning Aurangzeb effigy is, and besides, provocation is subjective. Only violent people are provoked into violence. And this is the same, just 10 seconds. Same justification given every time they attack Hindus. This action-reaction provocation theory, Rahul. But why don't they apply this same theory to Godhra riots and justify them as a reaction to the train burning? They don't bring this action-reaction theory. So I'm afraid this is a discussion that will go only one way if you have to be logical. And the one way is stop celebrating, eulogizing Aurangzeb. Stop it.
Okay, so, I'll come back to you, Sanjay Jha. Can I come back to you? Let me just open it up with everyone else and then we can have second rounds of reactions. Thank you for being patient. But Dr. Raman, let me just ask you very clearly this question, and I want to bring in the BJP right after. Dr. Raman, why is it becoming so difficult for certain opposition leaders to distance themselves from those that seem to be apologists for Aurangzeb? And are Hindus, from the sense that I got from what Dr. Ranganathan is saying, I'm getting the sense that Hindus are being made to feel guilty about opposing those people who are glorifying an individual that caused them a lot of grief and hurt and continues to do so. Is this fair?
Rahul, first of all, let me say that I've just listened to 7 minutes of what is a most divisive and what I would go as far as call a hate speech. It is purely to spread poison and venom in society, and I feel deeply apologetic, to be sitting in this panel and listening to this. And of course, it was a script was today much longer than it normally is, which is why, probably just to spread the divisiveness more. Let me make one thing very clear. India is about the present. This government seems to be wanting it to be only either about the past or about the future, never about the present. Either in 2047 we will have all these things, or 300 years ago somebody did this to you, 800 years ago somebody else did something else to you. The people want a better life for themselves today, for God's sake. They want jobs, they want economic development, they want better roads, they want better infrastructure, for God's sake. Can't you people understand that? Again and again and again, spreading divisiveness. Look, opposition politicians speak irresponsibly everywhere in the country, irrespective of political parties. When they are in the opposition, they speak irresponsibly. It is most unfortunate that a chief minister has spoken in the manner that Mr. Fadnavis did on the 10th, virtually throwing his weight behind the demand, saying that it only adding a caveat that the removal has to be done under the due process of law.
Yes.
So this is extremely you cannot, that if that is not a statement that could have caused disquiet. Now, perfectly all right. If you feel that's fine, that's fine. That's your call. But my point is, does it raise the GDP of the country? Removing Aurangzeb's grave. Second, does it improve healthcare for one Indian? Does it improve the quality of life for anybody? What madness is this? What are we doing as a nation? And yesterday's violence was most condemnable. But it would never have happened had this entire issue not been raised and stoked in a systematic manner over the last 10 days, 15 days. And Rahul, let's face it, there have to be at some point a line that is drawn, saying thus far, no further. This country needs to move forward, not backwards.
Okay.
And I hope the people of India who are watching this can remember that none of this is going to help improve their lot, neither for Hindus nor for Muslims. I'm not talking about improving. If this is not going to improve the condition of the Hindus either, despite those who are spreading venom and poison and divisiveness day after day after day and night after night on national media.
Don't go back in time, says Dr. Raman. One second, let me bring in the BJP national spokesperson. I just want to add one little fact then. If by that logic, why is constantly Narendra Modi adjuncted to the Gujarat riots of 2002? And why is the BJP always adjuncted to the Babri demolitions of 1992? Why do we always go back in time? Viewers, look, we can be selective about the examples we pick to bolster our arguments, but again I find that the elephant in the room is not being addressed, and that is, are those people, and that's a question I'm posing, and I would love an honest answer. For example, where are the ordinary Muslims? Fine, you say that the opposition acts irresponsibly whenever they are in opposition. That doesn't give anyone a free pass, by the way, but still, okay, let's take it at face value. But where are the ordinary Muslims who are coming out and saying that we don't want this eulogy or the edification of Aurangzeb in our name? Sorry, we don't identify either with his worldview. Where are these people? Where are the moderates? Where are the so-called liberal, social cohesionists? Where are all these people? Or are we always going to be taunted by pulling out figures from the past? Nonetheless, the BJP needs to answer a couple of questions, and here it is. And I have to ask you this, Ajay Alok. There is a BJP government at the state level and at the center. If you believe that Aurangzeb is such an egregious character, why don't you change the laws? The law at this moment in time, which governs the place where Mr. Aurangzeb was interred, for example, protects that place. Remove it from that list of protected sites. What's stopping you from grabbing the bull by the horn, so to speak? End the debate. Or criminalize.
You're right.
If you feel that
You're
it's
right.
criminalize anybody who gratuitously glorifies Aurangzeb. Criminalize the law. Do what the Europeans have done.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like Devendra Fadnavis, I also say Aurangzeb grave should not be here. And we'll take steps. But it has to do with methods. It cannot be done abruptly. Like when we removed all the British invaders and all the signs of British invasions, there were not much hue and cry and protest. There were some, but not much. But in your 21 minutes of debate, I'm amazed by the intellectual hypocrisy for all the people sitting here, talking about divisiveness. Where is the divisiveness? The divisiveness is increasing. Go to and check the historical facts, my dear friend. Anand just has mentioned 2.6 million Hindus massacred by only Aurangzeb. But till now, since the Mughal entered and since the Tughlaq was also there, 9.6 million Hindus were massacred alone. And we were not divisive. What a hypocrisy. The call by Jinnah, the final day action, Calcutta took 10,000 lives of Hindus, but we were not divisive. The partition took 9.5 lakhs Hindus' life. We were not divisive. The Ganga Jamuni Tarjib continues to duel like that. We were never divisive. So many riots under the umbrella of the Congress happened, where both Hindus and Muslims were killed. We were not divisive. We were very progressive. Gujarat riot happens, we started becoming divisive. Narendra Modi coming to power, we started becoming divisive. And who is Aurangzeb? This is the mindset, what we are troubled at. Nobody keeps a name of Jayachand or for that matter Ravan or for that matter Vibhishan, Man Singh in Hindu family. But yes, the matter of pride is what? Osama. Then Aurangzeb, Jahangir, Akbar, Humayun. And now we are showing Burhan Wani also is a matter of pride of keeping the name. This is the mindset. What is this mindset? The problem is we don't hit the nail. The nail is today India is Darul-e-Harb, land of conflict for them. And they want to make it Darul-e-Islam. You want to happen? You want to make that happen? Because you guys are aiding and abetting that Darul-e-Harb in becoming Darul-e-Islam. You are responsible for increase of Muslim population from 7% to 18% of this country. You guys are responsible for 70 years. It's you had to take the control in the last 70 years. You didn't do it because of your intellectual hypocrisy and your vote bank politics. This is the naked truth, what I am telling. And at the back of the mind, when you go back in your house, you will remember this. And don't forget, because of your actions, today people are facing this wrath. Because where there is majoritarianism of Islamic majority, Hindus are being thrown out. Hindus are being thrown out. I am telling you about Bihar, I am telling you about West Bengal, I am telling you about Kashmir. We have already seen what happened to Hindus in Kashmir. This is not uniting people, this is divisiveness that was always there. It's for us to control and check.
No, but I'm asking you.
People like you, people like Sanjay Jha, people like Congress Party, they create the divisiveness more and more.
Criminalize-
It suits your political interest.
Okay, now let's not speak over each other. One second, doctor, one second.
I have a right to rejoinder.
Yes. One second.
Ask him to tell us.
One second. Let's not speak over each other. Let's go person by person.
Right.
If you have a point to make, just raise your hands, please. Let's just be a little calm. This is a sensitive issue. I don't want any loose remarks, which I haven't heard, to be broadcast, and then there's a huge amount of chaos on social media and people then sort of holding you up for all sorts of things. So I'm just being very, very clear. Ajay, look, I want to ask you, yes, you are aggrieved on behalf of hundreds and thousands of Hindus. Why don't you criminalize the gratuitous glorification of Aurangzeb? If you feel that strongly, you can at least do that. I'm not talking about deplatforming him. I'm not talking about removing his statues or eviscerating his grave or quarantining or locking it up or whatever. I'm just talking about criminalizing the gratuitous glorification of people like... Yeah, I mean, bring in a law.
No, you're right. You're right, Rahul. I agree to you what you are saying, that since we are in the government at the center and the state, we must do it. I agree to you. But
Okay,
there is a way to go.
So walk the talk. So
we did it. We got the Kartavya Path done. We removed the famous Victoria Channel from our Indian Navy, which was not done for the last 70 years. Can you answer me why it was not done?
No, that might
We
be
have
so.
done many things.
We all know
And
the
we will do many
reasons,
things.
but the fact of the matter is that you're now
I don't
in
want
power.
to do. We don't want to do anything in a knee-jerk reaction.
Okay,
we don't want to do anything in a knee-jerk reaction.
But clearly,
today has come in front of. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one fact. I'm just talking about facts. Can any of the gentlemen here disagree with me that 99% of Muslims of this country are from converted Hindus? They are not of Mughal descendants. Then why is so hue and furor about Aurangzeb?
What do you want to do, sir? Sir, in history across many
I just want to say why there was a hue and cry.
Okay, gentlemen,
and why
I
you are
have to lower
supporting
everyone's
it.
faders,
Why
please.
people get instigated?
I can't hear any one of
Why
you
people
speaking.
get
I'm going to lower your
instigated?
faders. I'm counting till 3, please. Let's not speak over each other. I beg you. 1, 2, 3, please. I want to bring in Sanjay Jha. He had raised his hand. I'll come back to you, Dr. Raman. I'll also bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Yes, Sanjay Jha, you wanted to make a point.
Yeah. First and foremost, I would like to tell my friend Ajay Alok, please do not spread fake news. The proportion of Muslims in India's population is not 18%, it's 14%, and 4% is a big difference. Please do not use numbers in a casual fashion.
14% is a long back census.
Rahul.
Long back census.
Okay,
Ajay,
it's
Ajay,
14%. Let's stick to
chat?
the facts. There's no other. There has been no other census after 2011. So let's stick with that number. Okay. Yes, Sanjay Jha. Yes.
Number 2, Rahul, the biggest politics being done in our country today is what we call as dog whistle politics. As Sumant rightly pointed out, Fadnavis makes a statement and you realize it's a dog whistle. It's a signal to the large fanatical followers to.
Yeah, but
kind of
everyone's
take it
guilty
up
on
and
that
say,
score. Sanjay Jha, let's be honest. Put your hand on your heart and tell me, what was Rahul Gandhi doing marching with a hate preacher?
Rahul, let me finish.
I mean, let's
Rahul,
be
let me
honest.
finish. Rahul, let me finish.
Sure.
Ajay Alok needs to answer at some point that, in the floor of the new parliament, I don't think I have ever heard a more unprecedented, vulgar and a violent speech as was made by Ramesh Budhuri of the BJP. That is your true DNA, Ajay. You can't change that.
No, one
whether
second,
it's bulldozer, whether it's lynching.
Look, one
that's
second,
your
one
true
second.
face.
Now,
You can't
Ajay Alok will
contemplate.
recite.
The
Ajay
mask
Alok
is
will
off.
give you.
That's your DNA.
Okay, but Ajay Alok will give you 5 other examples of
I'm
so-called
not done
secular
yet, Rahul.
leaders being equally
Rahul, I'm
communal.
not done yet.
Okay.
Rahul, let me finish. I'll take 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I want to give you a quote which I
Not
think applies
communal,
to the
anti-national.
BJP.
Anti-national.
I'll tell you, Rahul, what
Who
really
speaks in
applies.
front of
Okay,
Rahul
one
Gandhi,
at a
George
time.
Punaiya,
One at
when
a
they were
time.
doing a
One at a
Musliman
time.
Jodo Yatra.
One at a
Can I
time.
finish?
I'll lower your fader. 1 second. Sanjay Jha, yes, make your point. Finish.
Yeah. Rahul, let me tell you, there's a very famous quote of George Orwell, who famously wrote 1984. It applies to the BJP. I'll tell you what the quote is. Those who control the present control the past. And those who control the past control the future. That's exactly what the BJP is doing. When Sumant talked about why are you going into the past? Why are you talking about an emperor who died 318 years ago? That's the BJP's objective. They can't live in the present because they have nothing to show. So you mislead people on issues of something that will happen in 2087.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Ajay Alok to respond, and Dr. Ranganathan final statements, and we wrap out. Yes, Ajay Alok, respond please.
First of the thing, we have nothing to show. You see it every day when you sit in your early house, Sanjay Jha. That's what we have done to the coastal roads. Every day you watch it with your own naked eyes and you can't believe it. Well, what we have to show. So don't tell me about it, because if I talk about development, there are 2,000 things which you cannot match our pace and acceleration both. So forget about development. Today we are talking about basic things. That's religion, that division of religion, and that is being accelerated by you guys. The hatred, you are promoting it against the majoritarian population living in this country. You guys are just acting like Jaychand and Mansingh of this Hindu population, which is not tolerated, which cannot be tolerated. And your intellectual hypocrisy should be exposed to everyone.
Okay, blame game is not addressing the real issue, Dr. Ranganathan. The real issue is this. Why is a bunch of people knowing fully well that there are sensitivities involved, majoritarian sensitivities involved, or majority community sensitivities involved, why are they walking all across those? That's the fundamental question, and who stops that?
Yes, so Rahul, I was just to make one point to counter the claims of a Congress apologist who considered my exposing Aurangzeb with 12 facts as hate speech. But before I come to that, I want to just say that Ajay Alok is right when he talks about 18% population and people saying that's fake news. Well, Sanjay, my good friend, 14% was the 2011 population. By that logic, would you say that India's population is only 1.2 billion right now? No, people say it's 1.4, 1.5 billion. So Ajay is right. In the intervening 14 years, the Muslim population has increased possibly to, they are saying 204 million, possibly might be higher. So let's not go by 2011 census. That's not fake news. Now let me come to the Congress apologist who possibly celebrates Sajjan Kumar when he perpetrated the Sikh genocide. I don't know, you have to ask him, because that is akin to celebrating Aurangzeb, who perpetrated the genocide of Hindus. So would you say that we should not stop people like him, a doctor, celebrating Sajjan Kumar, who perpetrated the anti-Sikh genocide?
Okay.
Would that be saying that you are being hateful? No. So when you say, as you rightly said in your primer, there are laws in Germany and European countries that stop people from eulogizing Hitler, that stop people from denying Holocaust. Why are they there? Likewise, why are you celebrating these barbarians here and saying hate speech when you just mentioned the facts? Likewise, I'd like this apologist veterinarian to say that Sajjan Kumar should be celebrated or should not be celebrated, and people who are celebrating
Okay,
it wrong.
Dr. Raman, respond.
problem.
Quickly, respond.
This is the problem with Congress apologists.
Okay, let him respond.
I didn't get jobs. I didn't get my positions by
No, Dr. Ranganathan, let him respond now, please. Yeah,
okay.
let him respond.
He launched a personal attack. He called me a veterinarian. I'm more than happy to show my MD degree. You can get it validated
I don't want
anywhere.
this to be,
And
now
I-
this
and I
is
didn't
becoming
get
personal
jobs.
and it's
I
not
didn't
going
get a
anywhere.
job.
I need to step in.
By licking
Yes, let's not get personal. The fact of the matter is, viewers,
I didn't.
yes, I know you didn't. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, let's not.
My monologue a hate speech.
Okay,
What
okay,
about that?
okay. One second. Gentlemen, let's roll it back. You see, viewers, the fundamental issue is this, that if a red line has to be drawn, it has to be drawn in a sensitive matter like this very quickly. Waiting is only going to exacerbate the situation. So if the BJP feels so strongly as the upholder and guardian, so-called guardian of Hindu interests, it must act legislatively. And the opposition, if it believes that the BJP or believes that hate speech has no place, or individuals that flag a certain reaction in another community, their eulogization has no place in society, must support that legislation. It'll be very simple. You introduce it, we'll find out who is in favor of what. I leave it at this, viewers. Time has come to walk the talk, but I want to move on. There's been another big development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the first time has spoken about the just concluded Mahakumbh in the Lok Sabha, making it a point to laud the massive preparations and seamless execution of the grand religious congregation. The event witnessed participation of more than 60 crore devotees, saints and tourists from across the globe. It's unprecedented. The movement of people in just 45 days. Not only did the Prime Minister call the Mahakumbh the confluence of an unprecedented diversity, but also a pivotal moment in India's history that underlined the nation's emergence, as he says, as a force that has the capability, the capacity to pull off massive organizational feats such as this. Listen in to the Prime Minister.
सबका प्रयास का यही साक्षात स्वरूप है। ये जनता जनार्दन के संकल्पों के लिए, जनता जनार्दन की श्रद्धा से प्रेरित महाकुंभ था। महाकुंभ ने उन शंकाओं आशंकाओं को भी उचित जवाब दिया है जो हमारे सामर्थ्य को लेकर कुछ लोगों के मन में रहती है। महाकुंभ ऐसा आयोजन रहा जिसमें देश के हर क्षेत्र से, हर एक कोने से आए लोग एक हो गए। लोग अहम त्याग कर वयम के भाव से, मैं नहीं हम की भावना से प्रयागराज में जुटे। मैंने लाल किले से सबका प्रयास के महत्व पर जोर दिया था। पूरे विश्व ने महाकुंभ के रूप में भारत के विराट स्वरूप के दर्शन किए।
Well, viewers, the opposition didn't, however, share in the Prime Minister's optimism, questioning his hurry to hype the Mahakumbh without acknowledging glaring lapses that, according to it, cast a dark shadow over the event and question India's capacities. Rahul Gandhi, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, said, and I quote, "I wanted to support what the Prime Minister said. Kumbh is our tradition, history and culture. There was one thing, the Prime Minister did not pay condolences to people who lost their lives at the Kumbh. Those who went to Kumbh also want employment. He should also talk about this." The opposition's rebuttal, viewers, has sparked a debate. It prompts us to ask if the Prime Minister is justified in drawing an analogy between the success of the Mahakumbh and Viksit Bharat's potential. Let's open this up. Let's ask some fundamental questions. We have a smaller panel, and I want to go straight across to Dr. Raman on this issue. Dr. Raman, the Prime Minister saying that, look, this is akin to the pivotal events that marked certain turning points in our history: the revolt of 1857, the martyrdom of Veer Bhagat Singh, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the clarion call of Delhi Chalo, and Mahatma Gandhi's Dandi March. These events inspired the nation, paved the way for independence. I see Prayagraj Mahakumbh as another such defining moment where we can see the reflection of awakened nation and also give a befitting reply to those who doubt our strength. How do you react to this statement by the Prime Minister?
Look, I think the overall fact that millions and millions of people have congregated at the Kumbh is certainly something that is a matter to be celebrated, as has been the case over the decades. Perhaps this time the crowds were larger. Now, to that extent, I don't see anything wrong with what the Prime Minister has said. Having said that, I think it would have been gracious had he acknowledged the fact that people did lose their lives at this event. So that is something that could have been acknowledged. But at the end of the day, I think this there's also the issue of the 66 crore number, which has been debated extensively. Let's not get into that, because there's been plenty of issues that have been put in its favor and against it, and so on. So let's leave that aside. The point is, there is nothing wrong in the Prime Minister speaking in the manner that he did. He would like to celebrate it in terms of a triumph for the government as such. The Kumbh has always been a deeply religious event for millions and millions of people. Yes, overall, this Kumbh did see a much larger crowd than has been noticed in the previous years, for instance, 2013 and so on. So to that extent, one definitely must appreciate the fact that things overall could have gone well.
So while the opposition,
yes, there was
Dr. Raman,
one very deeply distressing event which did happen, and that was the point that the opposition was making. Perhaps that could have been acknowledged, and maybe there could have been some kind of remembrance of those victims who lost their lives. That's about it.
Okay.
That does
sensitivity.
That does not necessarily mean
Ajay
that does
Alok.
not decry the importance of the Kumbh.
Okay. Ajay Alok, more sensitivity, you also need to acknowledge the failings before you suggest that this is this Mela, glory marks Viksit Bharat's potential. Do you see this as an omission?
It's not my problem if Sumanto has not heard the Prime Minister's full speech. He said, इतने सब होने के बाद भी कोई प्रयास हमारे विफल हुए तो आपने हमें माफ किया. The point he is not understanding that what the opposition is doing is like a Vignakarta. यज्ञ में विघ्न डालने वाले आते हैं, तो it's like a Vignakarta. So opposition has become a habitual distractor. What PM is trying to give a message to the whole world from the parliament that yet the country has united. If out of 1.4 billion people, 64 crores or 65 crores are visiting, that means every family has visited Kumbh, some or its member. If you calculate it even at the ratio of into 2. So don't you understand the importance, the bigger importance? What this Kumbh has done? This Kumbh has united and ignited the nation. This Kumbh had made us realize that yes, we as a religion, we have some deep spiritual effect that unites us and that allow us to keep on growing. This has enlightened the country. This has gone message all across the world, the globe, that yes, Hindus are there to stay. And
Okay,
Hindus
so-
have a
so-
spiritual
so hang on, let
dominance,
me bring in-
which
okay.
was acknowledged by every religion.
So
right
what-
from Christian and all, everybody came.
Okay,
there
so
were
what you're
participation from
suggesting
the
is
whole
that,
world.
that the Kumbh defies the opposition's claim that the country is divided, the BJPs are polarized. So very quickly, Dr. Raman, a quick response. It's united people
No,
from
I
all
don't-
walks of life.
Excuse me, I don't think anybody at any point said that the Kumbh has divided anybody. Who said that?
No, I'm not saying that.
Kumbh-
I'm saying that
Kumbh
the
has always
opposition has been saying that
I mean,
India
this
is
has been
divided
going on
today.
for centuries, for God's sake.
No, 1 second.
It has been
I-
going on for centuries.
No, you
and
misunderstood
I
the
don't-
question. Dr. Raman, the question was,
Yeah.
has the Kumbh's success in bringing people, the confluence of unity, as Prime Minister Modi has called it, suggesting that all this talk that the opposition has been making about the country being divided hopelessly along caste and religious lines, etc., fell by the wayside because people united, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of their religious affiliations, to come to the Kumbh.
But you need them to be united 365 days a year without divisive agendas being set to create more fissures and divisions in society.
Okay.
So ideally, we want people to be united 365 days a year.
Excuse me.
Okay, yes. Go ahead. Ajay Alok, yeah.
I just don't understand. How does a religious Kumbh happens to be religious, yet say it's a Hindu festival?
Yep.
Yeah.
So how Kumbh is creating fissures? Can you elaborate?
Kumbh never created
No,
fissures.
he's
Who said
saying that we
How
need
for
the same
45
kind of
days,
unity.
65
Okay, one
crores
second.
people
Let me
are
bring in.
taking
Who
at
said
a,
that? Who
how
said
it
that? He's
creates
not
fissures.
able to hear what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay. One
said
second.
it right now.
Ajay Alok, he's not saying that.
He
He's
said
saying that the consistency needs to be there all year round. It should not just be the Kumbh's 45 days that India comes together. The other days of the years, 320 other days or what have you.
See, my problem is
BJP
Rahul,
should be a force for unity. Yes.
Rahul.
Yeah.
Rahul, all four of us sitting here are Hindu. We have never been taught in our religion that there should be, what do you say, Bhagwaye Hind altogether. There should be only Hind.
Okay, I
Something like
understand what you're
Darul
saying.
Islam or something.
Fair enough.
We don't have, we
I
haven't
think one
been
is an
taught like
atheist
that.
here.
We have been raised
Dr.
that we are from
Dr.
Sanatan and we respect
were
everyone.
Okay.
And that's what the message of the Kumbh delivers.
Okay, so sabka saath, sabka
And
prayas.
we were also never taught to hate people.
Okay, Dr. Ranganathan, how can people come together if they are so hopelessly divided by hate and by a political party that organized this Kumbh, the BJP government in Uttar Pradesh, who is led by, as the opposition says, the greatest divider in chief in this country? So, your response to this?
No, but first of all, today I'm so delighted by the wonderfully combative Dr. Ajay Alok. I think I like this new version of his. Since 9 o'clock, he's been on the front foot, so that's fantastic. As far as this topic is concerned, to bring in hate, divisiveness, I think we've come to a point where just talking about giving justice to Hindus is considered as hate. This is the problem where people become not just Goebbels but children of Goebbels. That is, they start to accuse the other of what they are guilty of. So tomorrow, and I believe you, Rahul, you are a Kashmiri Hindu. People will call you demanding justice for Kashmiri Hindu as being hateful. Maybe they already do. So that's not the topic anyway. I don't know why somebody brought in this hate and everything. Embarrassment, I suppose, of being irrational and illogical. Coming back to Kumbh, you know, we believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And Kumbh was a glorious exhibition of the Kutumb coming together. As Ajay ji said, half the population of Hindus visited that place. It was absolutely magical, wonderful. But I have also to say that Dr. Raman is also correct. I think the Prime Minister should have mentioned those who lost their lives. Plus, I think the issue of coliform, that was the problem at the Sangam, 700,000 being the quantity where it should be only 2,500, was that has to be tackled. So there were issues that needed to be tackled and a wholesome approach. But all in all, just to end with 10 seconds when Rahul Gandhi again talks about jobs. People don't understand things. Thousands of things are happening in parallel. Last year, 47 million jobs were created. This is the Keynes report of RBI. Now, people might say we don't believe in it. But, okay, you don't believe in jobs being created. Will you at least believe that 3 lakh crores has been added to UP's economy just by the Kumbh? 3 lakh crores.
Okay.
Would you accept that 1.2 million jobs have been created in the last 2 months in UP in Kumbh alone?
A lot of people are doubting that number because, as some people have said on this show and another platform, 65 crores didn't even show up for the Kumbh. So,
massive GST evasion, because the GST from UP hardly went up by 2,000 crore in that 1 month. So there must have been massive evasion. 3 lakh crore has been earned. Nobody has paid GST on it.
Well, I'll have to look at that number. I can't sort of endorse that, but you're making a point. I'll have to look at that number and get back to you on that. But viewers, look, fundamentally the Prime Minister is saying we've done a wonderful job and India is capable of hosting these big events, organizing them, perhaps also looking a little to the future, 2036, when India is hoping to win the bid for the Olympics and proving to the world that mass crowds can be maintained in this country. Viewers, we all have our views. I want to move on because an important, very important issue we need to look at. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, 2 NASA astronauts, are about to return to Earth from the ISS, or the International Space Station. where they have been living for 9 months in a drawn-out mission fraught with technical challenges, schedule changes and politics. The 4-person crew, formerly part of NASA's Crew 9 astronaut rotation mission, is scheduled for a splashdown of Florida's coast later at around 3:27 a.m. So in about 4 hours, viewers. The absence of gravity has its effects on long-duration space travelers who experience dizziness, nausea, and an unstable gait when they return to Earth. Many people say that for Williams and Wilmore, the challenges won't end as they enter and land on Earth. They will begin, and that a lot of care needs to be taken. So what lies next for Sunita Williams and the co-traveling astronaut with her? Let's go across to Jonathan Levi, space commentator. Mr. Levi, thank you very much for speaking to me. Why did it, first of all, take so long to mount what many people are saying is a rescue mission?
I think the thing is, it isn't essentially a rescue mission, but a retasked mission. So when these astronauts got stuck in the space station back in the summer of last year, the mission that came up in September would normally have had 4 crew on it. So they only put 2 crew on that mission, so that when it was time for this crew to return, now aboard the Crew 10 capsule, there would be room for them to return. So they had to stay in space to take advantage of that opportunity, because there isn't a rescue mission capsule just waiting to go. So they've really had to join in a shift that wasn't intended and return at the same time as that crew that went up in September.
What challenges do the astronauts face now?
Well, they've been in space for this extended mission of 6 months, so their bodies take the toll of being in space that length of time. And the 4G they'll experience during the fiery re-entry, when the temperatures outside the spacecraft are about 1500 degrees centigrade, put quite a strain on the body. And when they splash down in the ocean, sort of 45 minutes after their re-entry burn has started, they'll have to readjust to being on Earth. And it's similar to other astronauts, but it's the toll on their bodies, and it's still not clear exactly how astronauts react to long times in space, hence the interest for when we go back to the moon or maybe go on to Mars.
Well, that's in the immediate, of course, but there are concerns about how they will adapt to life in the slightly near term on Earth. There's radiation threat and the loss of muscle mass, etc. What's the prognosis on that?
Well, first of all, they will have to get used to the Earth's gravity again. They have to build their strength up. We have to avoid blood pooling in the legs, which, so they've got to keep that fitness up in space. But this exposure to cosmic radiation is still quite unknown. And when there are solar flares, they have to go to a part of the space station which is more shielded. Usually inside, one of the modules. So it's still a hazard, and this is one of the big hazards ahead should mankind want to venture much further into space.
Well, thank you, Mr. Levi, for putting that into perspective for us viewers. Some people say it's going to be challenging when they return to Earth, and one just is keeping us fingers crossed and hoping that that landing goes off according to plan. And what a feat it will be. What a heroic return back to Earth. We leave it at that, viewers. The Vantage with Palki Sharma. Up next, stay with us. Don't go away.
Presented by
the issues that had led to problems when this 9-month mission has been taking place, why it kept extending to 9 months, the different issues that took place, because there were weather-related issues around the Florida coast that prevented things from taking place more quickly. There was also a different set of issues, the technical issues that took place in the first place. Shrishti, all of this to say that obviously what NASA is trying to pull off tomorrow, all eyes are going to be on whether or not these 2 astronauts, obviously the entire world is praying they will land successfully. Shristi, just tell our audiences, assuming everything goes off exactly as it's supposed to, what is the timeline? Just tell us. Starting from right now, 10 a.m., we know that the docking process is taking place as we speak, the undocking process rather. Now, what's going to take place? What are the next few steps until tomorrow morning?
Yes, Toya. So what's happening right now is the undocking of the spacecraft from the International Space Station. After that, after this crucial phase is over, NASA will wait for some more time to start the de-orbit burn, which is the time when the spacecraft starts preparing for re-entry re-entry on Earth. So that crucial phase will begin later this evening, and NASA is going to monitor the weather conditions of the Florida coast, because that is very crucial, because once the re-entry takes place, that usually takes around 3 to 4 hours, and once it gets a go-ahead from the ground station, only then the de-orbit burn, which is the last penultimate phase, will begin later this evening. And if all goes as planned and the weather conditions are favorable, then we hope that the astronauts will be safely landing on Earth off the coast of Florida around 3:30 to 4 o'clock tomorrow Indian Standard Time, and the ground teams will be alerted. So see, apart from the weather, it also depends upon how ready are the ground teams and at the sea, because to ensure the recovery happens as planned and on time. So these are the crucial phases, but as NASA has just announced that the undocking has happened seamlessly, which is a good news, that the astronauts are now soon going to begin their journey back home after 9 long months at the International Space Station.
Okay, Shristi, one of the most interesting aspects of this story has obviously been what takes place in their bodies when they're in space, and what are the precautions that are going to take place once they land. We know immediately when they land, you're going to have NASA medical teams rushing towards them to run them through all kinds of checks. But just tell our audiences what happens when you're up in space for 9 months. One, for example, is that you forget that gravity is a thing. But just tell our audiences in a more systematic way exactly what takes place.
Definitely. So one point that we should not forget is that both Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are NASA veterans. They have flown into space twice before. So this is their third visit to the space. So they're well aware of the conditions there. The major challenge comes from the extended stay in microgravity, which is the weightlessness, because there's no gravity in space. So when you stay in such conditions for a very long period of time, then there are chances, or rather there are actually effects that you lose your muscle density. There's muscle atrophy. There are some changes in your body fluids, and that is why all these astronauts are really trained to perform exercises and keep their bodies fit at the International Space Station. So yes, that microgravity effects are definitely there. Second, scientists tell us that nominal space radiations are always present at the International Space Station, no matter what kind of precautions you take. So when any extra day in space renders you much more vulnerable to those radiations impact. So once the astronauts are back on Earth, they're usually quarantined for some period of time to ensure that their health parameters are okay, and ensure that the effects that they had when they were at the International Space Station. It's very difficult to really say what kind of impacts they actually experience, because space agencies around the world rarely share that data. That data is not available in the public domain, so we really do not know. But scientific studies show that some of the effects can really be recovered, but in the long term it does definitely have an impact. But again, I'd like to emphasize that both Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are veterans. They know how the conditions happen in space, and they really it's not a new experience for them. And NASA as well, over 270 astronauts have flown into International Space Station over the last 2 decades. So it's not a new exercise for them, but I think yes, the point of concern is that these 2 astronauts, they had gone to space for a duration of 8 days, ended up staying there for 9 months, so away from their families. So yes, now as we all are waiting for their safe return home, and we'll get to know a little more about once they land.
Shristi, just stay with us. We'll just go over right now to Dinesh Bhai Rahul. He's joining us.
Hello and welcome to Vantage. We are coming to you from the Ideas Pod studio in New Delhi, right on the sidelines of the Raisina Dialogue. First Post is collaborating with Raisina Dialogue to bring you the Ideas Pod. Dozens of leaders and policy experts have been joining us here in the studio all day today, and we've been bringing you